Okay, so on the last installment of the don't buy anything on Marketplace that you don't understand CNC router system, we covered like exactly what I was going to be working on and how I'm planning on building the controller. Went home and made a really in-depth wiring schematic. I'll show you guys that a little later. And I was still waiting on 2 of the micro stepper drivers, or digital stepper drivers. These ones say digital on them, the other one says micro. Not really sure on the difference on that. So tonight I'm just gonna start wiring stuff up. I kind of started a little bit on some of the stuff for the back of the controller, just to kind of get an idea on how I'm going to do this. This is still kind of out of my realm of understanding, but slowly and surely we'll figure it out. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work and it burns up, you know. Yeah, real great negative sides to it. Probably here over the next week or so I'll get stuff hooked up, and I'm just going to execute everything on the table first before I even start building the box. I don't really want to assemble the box and stuff and then realize it doesn't work, and I also want to make sure I have all the components and stuff laid out in the locations that I want to have them installed on the box itself, because I'm planning on adding more to this machine down the road, and I don't want to run out of room, don't want to have to rebuild the box again. I did figure out how to hook the fans up. I did figure out how to hook the power supplies up and the e-stop. I have a new e-stop here, but for now I'm going to use the original e-stop from the table itself, because I don't have the computer cable to hook everything in yet, so, or power supply cable to hook everything in yet. So I'm going to kind of pony it off of the old e-stop system, and then we'll go from there. Once I get the box designed and start getting everything installed in that, it's a little component, so I'm not too concerned about the power cable for the power supply itself. I don't really need to worry about that for this part of this project. So we're going to start wiring stuff up, and, you know, just hopefully in the next couple days I can at least see the machine move. Production wise, this machine ain't going to be up and running for at least 3 more weeks. So we got to get moving. I first started off, I just wanted to do a little test run on this wire here. This wire actually came with the table. There is a ton of it. So I'm going to be able to use that for my drivers and like the smaller stuff. And then I'm going to have to go up a little bit in gauge, or down a little bit in gauge, whatever you want to call it, to wire in the power supplies. These little guys here and this 25 amp one right here. But the actual controller and the fans and stuff, they don't use a lot of power, so I'm going to just stick with the smaller wire itself. The only thing I don't like is that the power button that I bought came with some really small gauge wire. But it says it's rated at 220 volts. I don't believe that. That's pretty dinky. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get started here. I'm considering just marking these motors out too, for one for X, one for Z, and then one for Y as well. So I'm just going to make a little mark somewhere on here that's kind of out of the way. X, Z. Now these 2 drivers are set up with a lower amperage because I'm only running 1 motor off of each driver. This one I got a little bit higher, because what I'm going to try and do is actually piggyback my Y motors, because it came with 2, and just flip the wires on one, and hopefully I can get that just to kind of move in sync, because this controller didn't come with a dual axis setup. It came with an A axis for a 4th axis. And now I can wire it that way if I need to. It's not a huge ordeal. I'll have to understand that my 4th axis and my Y axis are going to be working together, so my G-code and everything are going to be a little weird. What's nice about this board is it's actually marked all the way up and down the side here to tell you exactly where everything needs to go, instead of having to look at a schematic the whole time. So we want Z. We're going to get X out of the way. And I'd already Did some of the terminals here. On the digital stepper driver, it's also marked as well. And because I have up here written exactly which designation each wire is going to be, I can just easily come in and wire it. Not going to worry about the ground wire just yet, mostly because it's going to be grounded through the main ground on the power supply. So we have our first one done. It's basically that. Pretty straightforward. Now to just do this like 5,000 more times. If you don't have these guys, these are wire strippers. I've had this set for like 10 years. They're awesome. You can get them for like 30 bucks at Home Depot. I use them for any of these kinds of jobs. And like I said, this doesn't need to be super clean because this is not a permanent installation of all this stuff. I'm gonna go back through and really clean it up, and I'm really excited to make my first control box. Get to use the press brake, get to use the plasma table. It's just a really good learning experience. I'm trying to keep, you know, spirits high on this. I am really, really upset that I couldn't get this thing to work right off the rip because I watched it work when I went and bought it. But things happen. Things happen. So we're gonna wire our X up here, and it is going to be black in the negative. Our X is a little bit lower, and I've got to make sure that I hit it right because I could put it in the wrong spot. So these four here are Y, and then we get into the X right here at the brake. So, which is kind of nice that they put that brake there. I think when I do the permanent install, I'm going to lengthen the positive wires a little bit, and then shorten the negatives. So that way I can keep this a little bit closer and tucked in a little bit better, because I don't like how this setup is. Okay, so the three drivers are now wired up. Y, Z, and X, I believe. Yep. Set that stuff off to the side. And actually this will get set up to the side. Now, what's really cool about this setup for the communication system, the computer, I don't know why I call it communication, is once I have everything wired up, it nicely just kind of goes into the back there, so I don't have to like work around the actual driver or controller. Okay, so that's gonna be it for tonight. I worked all day, I'm getting tired. I don't want to mess up these connections, so I'm gonna take a break and finish this wiring up another day. It's gonna take me a couple days to do this part. Sucky part is it's not the final wiring. I'm gonna have to undo everything, install it into the box, redo everything, and then try it. Hopefully I can knock out any bugs that I'm gonna have with the system before I put everything into the box, and just kind of get everything worked out here while I can access it really easy. But yeah, I mean, overall it went well. We got some of the stepper drivers wired in, and I wired my fans in too, but I'm pretty sure I did that off camera, so we're not gonna worry about that. If you guys don't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, it'll really help me out. I'm Zach Leber, this is the Laboratory, and until next time, go build something. Okay, so oh god, that's very zoomed in. Yeah, I don't like this. I pulled this section of wire from the original